Hello, future engineers, and welcome to this video tutorial on modeling part 1, the train body in OnShape on your iPad. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to start by modeling the back side of this train. So really what that looks like, we have a rectangle and one of the edges is this rounded radius. Now we don't know the height of the rectangle, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw on a generic rectangle that has our width of our train, which is a dimension of 2. I found that over here. And then we are going to be able to place a circle with this radius at this point because we have those dimensions. And it'll make a little bit more sense as we get started. Like I said, this is going to be our first video inside of OnShape. So we are going to open up OnShape and I'm going to hit the plus button to create a new document. And this document I'm going to call train underscore body and hit OK. Cool. So working in OnShape is very similar to Inventor. One, we draw sketches and then extrude those into 3D parts. So to get started with a sketch, we're going to hit the little pencil icon in the top left, and then it's going to ask us to select a plane. We're going to start with this front plane over here. And one of the things that OnShape doesn't do that Inventor does is that it automatically shifts our plane so that we can see what we're working on. It's a little inconvenience, but it's easily fixed. All we have to do is do a 2-finger tap on our screen and hit this bottom option, View Normal to Sketch Plane. Now we are viewing it in a normal view. So now I'm going to go over to my sketching tools. These are all my tools that I can use. And I'm going to choose the corner rectangle. And I'm going to press and hold on my screen until I can hit the origin and then drag out second point. Oop. I don't think that I have my actual rectangle tool on. There we go. All right, I'm going to just click and drag out a rectangle that looks something like that. Perfect. You can see that the black lines are fully constrained, the blue lines are not constrained. Now let's go into our sketching tools again and choose our circle with a center point. And I'm going to place the center in the middle of my rectangle. And I'm going to place the outside edge. I'm going to press and hold down to get a circle right around there. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to start to throw in some dimensions now. That's all that we needed to do. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to dimension the width of our rectangle. So we have to scroll all the way down over here and look for dimension on the side. Choose dimension. Let's throw in the width. We're going to select both of those and then tap once on our screen, press 2, and hit the check mark. Cool. Now we want to dimension our circle. Remember, circles always have 3 dimensions. We have our total diameter, which this one is, it's 2.35 in radius or 4.7 in diameter. Cool. Then what we're going to do is we're going to place this circle where it needs to go. So from our bottom edge of our rectangle to the center of the circle, that is a distance of 0.375. And then from the center of the circle to an outside edge, we want this directly centered. So we're going to put it at a distance of 1. Cool. We now have our basic shape. The only thing that's left to do is to go and trim everything. So we go back into our sketching tools. We find the trim command, we select that, and then just tap on the lines that we do not want, and those will be removed. Now it does get rid of some of our dimensions and we lose some constraints. We can go back and throw in those dimensions if we really want, but for the sake of time, I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to hit the check at the bottom of my page saying that I'm done with the sketch. I'm going to 2-finger touch so I can view isometric. Then I'm going to go to that sphere icon, click on that, and this all has my 3D commands. I'm going to choose extrude, and I'm going to select the face that I want to extrude. Now the depth that we're extruding this is 1.75. I'm going to hit the check and hit the check up top. And now we've got the first element of our body created. To save some room on my screen, I'm going to get rid of my top, front, and right side plane visibility. I did that over on the side. You can see the little eye icons. I'm hitting those so that they disappear. So I don't want any of those on. I'm just going to be using this as a reference as I go model. All right. So now the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to model the front face of this train. So we are going to draw in a rectangle with a circle that cuts in between it, and we are going to extrude it out of the part that we had just created. So let's go ahead and do that. In OnShape, I'm going to hit my pencil tool again. It's going to ask where I want to start my sketch, and I'm going to choose this face over here. Again, I'm going to two-finger touch and view normal to sketch plane to make it a little bit easier to see. A command that we used in Inventor that we're now going to use here is this use command. In Inventor, we call it project geometry, but we're going to choose use, which allows us to steal sketches that we've already created. So I'm going to steal the three edges that create that U shape, and then go into my sketching tools and grab my line tool. The reason why I did that was just because it saves me a little bit of time. I don't have to trace those lines over and over again. You can see they're black, they're fully constrained because we're stealing the dimensions from our previous sketch. I drew a line across. I did press and hold to place the first point. I find that a little bit more effective. It just allows me to be more accurate with what I'm doing. Next thing that I'm going to do, go back into the sketch, grab my circle, and press and hold, press once, press and hold to drag out the other part of the circle. Cool. Now I can dimension this. Go back into my sketching tools, find dimension, and dimension the height of my line over here. This is 0.88, and dimension the size of my circle. That circle should have a dimension of 1.5. It's a radius doubled, but you can find that in the schematic. And we can go from center to outside edge. That's a dimension of 1. I should say that I am pressing on the two locations that I want to dimension between, and then pressing one more time to lock in the dimension. This dimension is 1.38. Cool. Again, I am going to go find my trim tool and get rid of the lines that I do not need. And we are all good. We're going to hit check, view isometric. So now when I go to extrude, I can extrude this out a total depth of 1.375. Did a little quick math to find that answer. All right. Now the next thing that we are going to do, let's create the train window on the back face. So we're going to create that over in this area. Let's take a look at the dimensions on our schematic. On our schematic, we have a circle with a radius over here, and that has that radius of 0.5. It does have these little edges that extend past it, so it's really like a backwards capitalized D. So we're going to have a flipped capital D over there. That distance of those edges are 0.25, and then the height of our circle feature is going to be 1.75, or not necessarily its height, but its Y location. So let's draw that in inside of OnShape. Oop. I recently opened train body. There we go. Cool. So now let's go and hit our sketching command. We're going to choose this face on the outside over here and view normal to plane. I might want to rotate it around just a little bit. There we go. Cool. Now let's get started sketching on this plane. We're going to grab our circle command, and I am going to just draw a circle. This circle, we're going to immediately go into dimensioning it. So its distance from this bottom edge over here, this is 1.75. And then its distance from this back edge over here, this is a distance of 0.25. The diameter of the circle is 1. And now I just need to grab some lines, and I'm going to be drawing from the top corner of my rectangle or my circle out to this edge over here. And I am going to not do that. I'm going to grab my line tool again and do the same thing at the bottom. Ooh, the bottom is perfectly aligned where that is the midpoint, but the top one is blue. That means that we still need a constraint on it. So we are going to grab our tangent constraint. Oh, with OnShape, you want to grab the items that you want first and then hit the constraint. So we select both the things that we want, then hit the constraint, and we're good to go. I'm going to draw one last line that connects my two lines over here, and then I'm going to grab my trim tool and get out the parts that I don't want. So zooming in over here, I'm going to remove that, and that, and that. Perfect. Hit the checkpoint, go over to our 3D tools, and extrude that face. This time we want to change our add option to remove because we're going to be subtracting out. I'm also going to do a 2-finger touch. Oh, I can't view it right now. I'm going to move my extrude menu down, go to my isometric view so I can see how far I'm extruding back. I'm going to extrude all the way through the object and hit my checkpoint. Cool. So now we are doing pretty good. It is looking close to where we want to be, but little smaller features are coming up. So we're going to go isometric. Now, the most challenging part about doing this in OnShape is that creating this whole feature takes one extra step than it would inside of Inventor. What we're going to have to do first is draw a line across here so that we can project a plane across. And I'll show you what I mean by that and why we're doing it that way. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're actually going to start two different sketches. The first sketch that we're going to do is on this front face over here. And I am going to grab my point tool. My point tool is right over here, and it allows me to place a point anywhere on my sketch. So I'm just going to place a single point right there. It has no width, depth, or height. It's just a single point, the smallest object we can make. And I'm going to hit the check, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make another sketch on this face over here. Sorry, I did not press and hold long enough. This face over here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab my point tool, and I'm going to go until it snaps to that top position. And now I have a point at each end over there, and I'm going to hit the check that I have finished with that sketch as well. The next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go into my, not my sketching tools, but my 3D model tools, and I am going to add in a 3D fit spline. This is the only way that we can add a line in 3D, so I'm going to go from this point to this point and make a line straight across. The reason why we did that is because we want to add a plane. When we started drawing on our top, front, right side planes. These are our origin planes. We can add a construction plane that allows us to draw on it so that we can actually make the shape that we want. We wanted to add a whole feature on top of this engine body, but if I hit my sketch command, I can't choose to sketch on this rounded face. I have to have a flat face to draw on. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to my 3D commands again, and I'm going to choose plane. The plane tool that we don't want a plane type offset, we want a plane type line angle. We are going to select that line that we just created, and we are going to keep our angle at 0 degrees. When we hit check, we now have this plane that we can sketch on. So I'm going to grab my sketch tool, and I'm going to select this plane over here. So with that plane selected, I'm going to view normal to sketch plane, and I'm going to draw in that feature that I want. That feature is a circle with a center point. I'm just going to place it along that line that we had created and draw that out. I'm going to throw in a dimension for the circle size. That circle size, it's 0.5. and then throw in its location. So from the center of the circle to this edge over here, that's 0.88. And it already has its height constraint because we had grabbed that from the line that we drew across. And I'm going to hit the check. I'm going to view isometric so that I can go and extrude this out. So I'm going to extrude the circle. It wants me to choose what face. Grab the circle. I don't want to add, I want to remove, and I want it at a depth of 0.25. I'm going to hit the check, and I'm going to go over to isometric. Now, just like the other planes, I can turn off the visibility of that. Unfortunately, we cannot turn off the visibility of that 3D spline. It's okay, we'll live with it. Now we're close. We have 3 more sketches and 3 more extrusions that we have to do. So let's start by creating the 3 hole features that sit on this front face over here. So what we're going to do, we are going to grab our sketch command. We're going to start on the front face over here and view isometric. Now we are going to get a couple of hole features. So I'm going to draw in a circle. I'm actually going to draw in 3 circles and place them right about where they need to go. Those are our 3 circles. I'm going to dimension all their sizes. They all have the same size. It is 1/8 of an inch, or 0.125. Oh, did it dimension all of them? No, it just made them all in reference to each other. It would have been crazy if it was able to do that. I am using that hold to grab currently because it's a little bit more difficult to get these. And then with my dimension tool, I'm going to dimension all of my widths. This first width over here is 0.375. The second width is from the center to this baseline again. That is 1. And then the last width, I should just be saying x coordinate, is 1.65, 1.625. There we go. Now for the heights, from here to our baseline over here, that is a distance of 0.125, and the same for the other one. And the last one has a height of 0.625. Again, all these dimensions are available on our schematic. I'm going to go over to isometric. And, oh my gosh, that is, my fingers are sliding around this. We want to extrude each of these, so I'm going to select all of them. We're going to go over to remove, and the distance, the depth that we want is 0.125 as well, the same size as the diameter. Cool. We now have those 3 holes extruded as well. Cool. There are 2 more sketches. One is on this face over here. We are going to view normal to sketch plane, and I'm going to do the same thing. I've got 2 hole features and another one over here. Careful not to have it snap to anything. And then let's go in with our dimensions. The size of these holes should be 0.25, 0.25, and now for the locations. So from this back edge to the first hole is a distance of 1, and then from the back edge to the center of the second hole is a distance of 4.5. And then both of them have the same distance from our bottom edge, which is a distance of 0.5. Cool. I'm going to hit the check and go back to my isometric view, grab my extrusion, choose the two holes that I want to. Oops, accidentally selected something I didn't want, so I'm going to edit my selections. I believe that's the second one that I don't want. Nope, I deleted all of the ones. Oh well. I'm going to go back in here and just zoom in to be cautious, choosing that one and that one. And this time I don't want to add, I want to remove, and I want to remove a depth. We're going to go 5 so it removes everything. Go back to my isometric view. And now the last view that we have is over here. We've got a hole feature on the back, so I'm going to grab my sketch tool, start on that bottom face over there, grab my circle, and we should be getting pretty comfortable with this. I am trying to make sure that it's not snapping to things, but I was not super fortuitous in that regard. I'm going to try and space this out right now. Make sure I didn't. Oh, shoot, I do have to delete it. So I'm just going to go back and then grab my circle command, and I'm going to zoom in to make sure that I don't accidentally have it snapped any points. Cool. Grab my dimension tool. I'm going from this point to the bottom edge. That is a distance of 0.375. Then the center of the circle to the outside edge, that is a distance of 1. And then the overall size of the hole is 0.25. We're going to finish our sketch, and we're going to extrude. Going to select that circle that we just created. We want to remove, and we are removing a distance of 0.5. Cool. I'm going to go back to my isometric view, and we are all done. So to check that we did everything correctly, I'm going to go up top. There's a little scale, and it's talking about our mass properties. So it's just like eye properties in Inventor. I choose that mass scale, and then I hit part 1 on my side over here. And we have a dimension of 20.225. This is the first time that I model this inside of Inventor or inside of OnShape, so it may be possible that we have a different dimension than what we would have in Inventor, and that's okay. Different 3D modeling softwares are going to tinker and create whole features differently than we would otherwise. But that is it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please reach out.